Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely, I'm just thinking we go through this presentation, it's not more than really 10 slides, and then start talking. We'd rather have a dialogue anyway, so.
Do we need to open the meeting?
Yeah, so we do this like a formal meeting.
Sure,
Yeah.
perfect.
We're actually gonna do the pledge.
Awesome.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Right behind you.
So, but we gotta wait for the chair. Hold on.
Dude, I've already got my heart covered here. Come on.
No,
All
keep it covered.
right, thank you.
All right, we'll begin with the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Turn it over to you.
All right, excellent. Harry, you're still on board, you can still hear us? Okay. All right, hi, everyone. My name is Ava Trina. I'm here with my manager, Arthur Wolferton, and I also have Harry Downing, who is on our team as well. He's our energy engineer that helped prepare a preliminary analysis for SA 17. So, yeah, do you want to say anything? Any other?
So, let's dive right in.
All right, excellent. So, yeah, so like I was saying before, let's get to a dialogue, but I just wanted to give kind of an overview of how we got to be where we are right now. So this spring, Dan approached me at a facilities masters conference in Portsmouth at the high school and said, you know, we have a lot of capital needs. Our superintendent is kind of familiar with Siemens, and maybe we could start some kind of conversation and maybe get you guys in the school for this idea of what we're looking at. So Siemens, or the energy side of things, does projects which are typically called performance contracts. So the idea behind a performance contract is that prior to the project, you have your maintenance costs and you have your energy costs. After the project, you still have those maintenance costs and energy costs, but you also have guaranteed energy savings. And with those energy savings, so the guaranteed component is that if we're saying that we're going to save you $50,000 every year for the next 20 years, if we have a shortfall and it's actually $20,000, not that it would be, but we have to cut a check of $30,000 to make up the difference. Anything you want to add?
So typically the energy savings are used, that the cost avoidance is used to pay whatever lease or bond that you may take. So it can be a revenue neutral type project. And so it's a project thing that's been around for over 40 years. Has been used in all 50 states, and the federal government uses it as well.
Yeah, which brings me to the next slide. So when we do these projects, the big idea here is what's your best return on investment. So some of our customers will pay with their operations budget, or they'll have a project that's funded. Sometimes they'll go municipal lease route, which is either the school district has a bank that they would prefer to use, or I have another one too.
Yeah.
Or Siemens as a bank as well. And then the other option too is renewables for a larger project. Some people are interested in it, some people are not, but sometimes it's at least worth the conversation. So when we're working through these projects, we want to focus on three things essentially. So energy and cost savings are number one, return on investment. When you're reducing your overall energy consumption, you're also reducing your energy bills. For resiliency, we want to have backup power sources in the event of extreme weather. A couple months ago, we had a pretty big storm that knocked out a lot of our schools in New England, and no one was really expecting it. So when you have power down, you're at risk for safety and protection, you're at risk for heating and cooling situations, lighting, so on and so forth. And then lastly, sustainability and decarbonization. It's not always applicable, but again, savings in energy equals savings in cost expenditure. Anything you want to add?
Nope.
Good. So now we're kind of getting into the big ideas here. So this is an energy benchmark of SMU 17 in comparison to a K through 12 school in New England. And it's just kind of an idea to show you of what your energy usage is in comparison to a school that is pretty well insulated. It has LED lighting. Sometimes it's done renewables, has gone the extra mile to kind of shore up their buildings and make them Energy Star approved, or, all of the buzzwords, if you will.
Are we ready for questions? Or can we,
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Is the benchmark built off of multiple buildings or a single K through 12?
So,
It's actually using a database of schools within the Northeast region.
Okay.
And so it's using the energy use intensity number, and we compare your school against other like schools, just to give us an idea of whether there's a project there or not.
a school-to-school basis though,
Yeah.
not like an entire district.
Right.
That makes sense.
Does that answer your question?
Almost. I mean, so for us, we're SAF 17 comprises multiple buildings.
Yeah.
Right. I just wonder, in the K through 12 benchmark, are there some K through 12s that are you looking at K through 12? If you're averaging or getting a sort of everything down to one number,
Sure.
right? The data points are coming from some districts that have a K through 12 all in one school,
Sure.
some that have multiple buildings, some, so it's all over the place. Yeah, it's just.
So it's not it's not like for like
It's not
comparison.
necessarily apples to
Yeah,
apples, but you try to make it apples to apples, right?
Yeah, generally.
Sort of
Yeah.
making okay.
All right, next page.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And this is all of our schools combined, I assume, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And does this include, the admin building or no?
It's not ours. We rent
So
it,
it's
so I don't
just-
think, it includes the SAU.
It's just the three buildings?
Yeah.
Three active
Well,
schools, or is
it's-
it taken
Or is
in?
it at the,
It's the high school, middle school here, Memorial, Beatty, and our SLC, SCA.
Okay,
so 4 buildings?
Right.
yeah, all right.
So Harry, we're about to get into facility improvement measures on that slide, if you have it up. I can pull it up. Hold on, I can pull it up.
Is it in the,
Yep, I got it. Hold on. Can you see my screen?
It is done by square foot.
yeah,
It's still done by square foot,
Yeah.
but obviously there's efficiencies with,
Well, yeah.
and inefficiencies with multiple.
All right, so Harry, do you want to take us through kind of what you looked at, where you're coming from? This slide and the next slide kind of go through everything, but, yeah, go ahead.
So basically, okay, sure. So we looked at all 3, 4 schools, whatever you want to call it, and essentially, LED lighting was obviously one of the items we identified immediately because the older fixtures, which do 2 things: they consume more electricity, but they also consume more operating costs to do day-to-day repairs. Same with building envelope. That's essentially we can see how well the windows are sealed, how well the doors are sealed, the roof wall joint, and insulation on the roofs. So we're looking at that, and we typically, at this level, we're estimating based on past history and age of your school, what we think, the losses are, and, coming up with savings that way. So that's, and obviously every building was different. Some, obviously middle school and high school is newer, and the rest are old. Boiler replacements, you do have, in most cases, other than big, you have old boilers, 20 plus, and some more than 20 plus, with a maximum efficiency of about 84%. We would recommend going to a higher efficiency boiler with a better hot water reset based on outside air to drive more savings. Water conservation, other than the older schools, not much has been done as far as putting in low flow devices to save water. Now, of course, in your case, your buildings are wells, but it's still, pumping energy and that kind of stuff that is going to drive some savings. What else? Domestic hot water, same thing. You're typically using indirect, storage tanks with lower efficiency equipment or electric. So we would want to go to a higher efficiency equipment to obviously drive savings. One of the bigger things I think is the energy management systems. In the middle high school, you have a relatively new energy management system that has reasonable control. The other schools are pneumatic or straight electric. There's no night setback. There's no nothing. So basically, they run 24/7, 365, same set point. So there's a huge opportunity there for taking that stuff under control and doing night setback temperatures and arconic scheduling. Transformers, this only pertains to the new school. The transformers that are there are not high efficiency type. And again, we do this a lot, and a lot of the hospitals more so, but there is a benefit to upgrading to our existing transformer and right sizing it so that this obviously was designed for a specific load. And if you're going to do all these measures, your load is going to drop. So you do have the opportunity to right size them and save energy. On the kitchen side, walk-in coolers, one set I think you're replacing this summer, so that's not included, but the remainder do not have, well, the standard now for walk-in coolers is they basically put an ECM motor, which is like a variable speed motor, as opposed to constant volume in, which saves energy as you approach set point in the cooler or the freezer. It slows down and then shuts off. And then also the door heaters are resistive heat that are on 24/7 now. We usually cycle those on and off, so we do, to maintain, obviously the freezers, you won't be able to open the door, but typically it's not 24/7 is too much. So there's savings there. The last two, obviously solar. There's, now is that the graphic that we used that show the solar production that we had estimated?
Yeah, that's a little bit later on.
Okay.
Which we can
That's
talk
fine.
to in a bit, yeah.
So basically solar provides a couple of things. Obviously it reduces your peak demand, which reduces your electricity bill and your usage. And it also provides resiliency. So we're looking at that. It helps your electrical consuming stuff, or you use less, from the utility. And heat pumps, same thing. I think you had those in Memorial. Their heat pumps, but they were older. So looking at putting either a heat pump or a pair of DRF systems.
Yeah. So Harry, this next slide came directly from your report. Is there anything that you'd want to add from this slide? And then if okay. Where we're at.
So this is basically what we call a FEM matrix. It by school, by type of savings measure, which ones we would recommend for a building like Sanborn, middle and high. Obviously, there's no water conservation because the toilets are new. It also has a control system, so there's no controls upgrade required there. The rest of these kind of match what we just talked about, boiler replacements and domestic. In your case, the middle school has a domestic water system that's wells that pump into a tank. And the pumps are, I'll call it on off like a light switch. When the pressure drops to a certain level, it turns the pump on and it pumps it up to a certain pressure and then shuts it off. We would recommend going to a variable speed pumping system so that it's going to run at a lower pressure, a lower speed most of the time, depending demand, but save electricity, obviously. Energy management system currently, like I said, the high school, middle school is the only one that's in place now. So these measures are like demand control. Ventilation is basically controlling the amount of outside air that comes into the building based on CO2 levels in the building. So it offers all these basically offer our KW savings. Obviously, Memorial and the others, the scheduling, start, stop, and night setback are really important in those buildings because right now they run 24/7.
Another thing, not to interrupt, but another thing we had talked about last time was biomass boilers, and they're not in this report, but do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, that's pretty popular, especially in, I would say, northern New York and definitely northern, New England. We see a lot of them in schools where basically they're doing basically a pellet boiler, but on a large scale. So that's something to think about because it does two things. You can localize your fuel source, and it's from an efficiency standpoint, it's near what a high efficiency gas boiler would do. So something to think about. It also helps your greenhouse gas targets if you have goals for that. We did put geothermal in on the middle school, high school, because it's obviously out the furthest field out. It's pretty wet, and I think initially they were supposed to grade that to a higher level, and it's not, so we would look at maybe doing geothermal there and actually regrading the field to a higher level so it doesn't flood. And there's just solar EV chargers are on there. I don't know if that's something that anybody's really interested, but I mean, it's something, we put it on all of them just for talking point.
And that's retired. He doesn't have one anymore.
Yeah, no more.
You don't have an electric car anymore, right, Tom?
Time of EV chargers.
It's half the only one.
Yeah.
So hybrid.
Hybrid.
Hey, I'm getting 80 miles a day out of that baby.
Ooh, that's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'll take that. All right, anything else, Harry, on this?
No, I think that's good.
Good? Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah, you mentioned a variable speed pump, like what's the typical lifespan of that pump? Since it's running, it sounds like it's running more consistently.
They actually have a longer lifespan because they usually, when you have a across the line pump starting, it's, the torque is high and it runs at one speed, it's on or off. These last, I've been working in this industry for 30 years and I've been back to sites that we did 30 years ago that, back in the day, I would say early on in the 90s and 2000s, the drive technology was not as good, but it's pretty good now.
Yeah, we put those Grundfos variable speed pumps over at Bakey when we did the boiler system there, just because of the energy savings and the rebates and everything that we got. So,
Yeah, those are one of the best.
right.
That's right, because Dan and I fought it out for 8 weeks to get that done. It was good.
We did.
All right. Do you want to take the next slide?
Sure. So the concept around kind of using energy and operational savings to pay for projects is that when we go through the buildings, we're going to look at items that are going to have a quick payback and a longer payback. And the theory is the quicker payback items help pay for the things that are longer term. So you can come in and just do lighting, but if you do the lighting and you need to redo a boiler retrofit or a new air handler, you're going to end up paying that out of capital. And so what we try to do is to leverage the power of bundling and take those short-term items and the longer-term items and put it together in a project so we can be revenue neutral. A lot of people will add capital so they get more done, but basically you're leveraging money that you would have given to the utilities to pay for the project. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Awesome.
Harry, do you want to take this one? This next one?
Sure. So this is really just talking. So this is your economics for the schools. Basically, it shows your consumption costs by fuel, electricity, gas, and propane. And at this point, we're estimating about a 25% reduction in utility costs for all the schools, which would build a project of about $2 million for a 20-year term.
And I think we should also kind of note that this is very preliminary. So, if we were to go into the next steps of doing an investment grade audit, that those numbers would be way more sure down. 25% is pretty baseline of as far as how in depth we go.
Well, and the other thing is, on top of that, is we would have firm numbers on utility rebates and other grants that we could apply to which would probably let it be a larger project for less cost.
Right. Yeah. So this next slide is kind of along the lines of carbon reduction and emission reduction. And, for some school districts, it's important, for some it isn't. But we kind of just go back to the idea of if you're saving money on energy, you're saving money in your utility bills as well. So back to that 25% reduction idea there. So the next slide is on some wish list items that we had talked to Dan about, and one of which was solar. Already kind of went through geothermal and also air conditioning at the high school / middle school, at least. And we had talked about the potential of air conditioning at all the schools, but it sounds like baking, it might not be an option for it. They're already kind of spent with load. But
I don't think it would be an option in there.
I don't know. I need more information. It's too early.
Sure. So, we get into solar a little bit next, and Harry, I'm gonna bug you again, and then I can jump in as well, but, from our conversations with Rob and our team. One of you, yeah,
So basically, if you look at this, we're estimating of installing about 1.2 megawatt, of solar. The federal tax credit is 30%. It used to be a tax credit, it is now a direct pay credit. So even though you probably don't file taxes as the school district, you would vet it for 1 year and to get that, it's a check.
Yeah.
So basically, whatever size system you put in and the cost, that's basically pay for 30% of it up front. Or actually not up front, it's at the end of 12 months. So
New Hampshire,
again-
oh, sorry, you go. Oh, you go. Yeah,
All right, and again, matching the solar, there's a graph that we'll probably see after, but basically, we kind of size the solar to handle your base load, which is the non-air conditioning side of your consumption, in which case your actual utility metering spend would be really low, annually, which is kind of what I would think people would want.
yeah, so I'm gonna jump to the next slide just in the interest of time, but, something just to note, I mean, New Hampshire historically hasn't been super great as far as kind of keeping up to date with, incentives and grants, and they are kind of on the up and up, and we're mirroring something like New York, and, this direct pay program is definitely becoming more and more, utilized, and it seemingly is working really well. So Harry, do you want to talk through kind of this blue line, before and after, as
Sure.
far as adding
So, right.
air conditioning? Yeah.
So the blue line in the back is your current consumption. The red dotted line is heating degree days, and the blue, there's a blue dotted line that's cooling degree days, which is on the bottom. The dashed light blue is what your consumption would be, including adding air conditioning to the remainder of the middle and high school. And if you did also overlay with solar, the yellow is what the production would be by month. For solar, so what you basically see is it pays for your baseline pretty much, so your actual utility bills would be significantly lower.
Yeah. Any questions on this before we jump? No?
You guys good?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is just kind of a timeline. When we do a prelim analysis, it usually takes 1 to 2 months. We're already kind of well on our way there. But the next step would be, if you wanted to move forward, is probably do an RFQ. And we can certainly help put together the ad and the RFQ itself. And then after going through interviews and selecting a partner, we would want to talk about an investment grade audit and letter of intent to really get things shored up and some contractors in to kind of validate where we're at and what we're thinking. With that, any questions? 6 minutes, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
That's fine.
You were talking earlier, just a note here, the boiler, were you talking about a pellet? Is that what I heard? A
Yeah,
pellet
yeah,
boiler?
biomass, but, yep.
Yeah, the school district in my hometown has a biomass boiler. And so they've got this big huge silo on the side of the building, and a truck comes in and just blows in wood pellets. And they source the wood pellets from New Hampshire.
Okay. Tarek.
Who's the largest manufacturer of that now, do you know?
The boiler itself?
Yeah.
Harry, that's a you question, I think.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that yet.
I can get back to you for sure, though.
Yeah, no, I can look at it.
In Montreal District, they did it in every school, and I can go back to my notes on that, but they had a really good setup. But I can answer, follow up with that answer.
No, I can look at it, thank you.
So,
One last thing just to kind of highlight is that this is really what I think of as a stage gate process of development. So as we go through one phase, there's a point where we're actually going to sit down with you and go through everything and kind of refine it all. So it ends up really being your project, So when we do the preliminary, there's probably gonna be things that you may not want in the end. But what we'll do is we'll narrow it down at that point. So when we go into doing the investment grade audit, or we're giving you firm fixed pricing, we're gonna know the exact things that you're really focused on. We still come back and check in with you and say, is this really what you want? And so there's a lot of checks and balances throughout the process to ensure that you're gonna develop a project that's gonna be best for this district.
I don't have any other questions.
Like anything else from you?
No, I'm good.
You good? Yep. Matt?
They're both math, math squared.
I don't think so. No.
We're just looking for, authorization from you to issue an RFP. You can either, authorize it now, you can table it for later. And later would be, we can revisit this again in August.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, this is our first time looking at it
this is,
in 20 minutes, so, yeah.
Yeah.
And I printed off the prelim report as well for everyone, anyone that wants to go through all of it behind. And these are some additional slides if you like.
The one thing I would just modify with what you said is that I'd recommend going into an RFQ, a request for qualifications, and not for pricing, because we don't know what that project looks like today.
I meant RFP.
No, you're good. I just want to make sure that everybody's thinking that way as we go through it.
Great. Well, this is fantastic, so thank you for coming and presenting this to us, and we appreciate your time. We've got all the contact information, so we'll come up with some good questions, and I see your contact information on the back of the slide.
Yes, and I'll get in touch with Harry. Okay, great, thanks, Harry.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Talk to soon.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thanks very much.
Anytime.
Really helpful.
Well, it's important that you guys get a good understanding, so we love to make sure that we're there to answer questions along the way. And I can tell you there is misinformation out there right now, so we're on a big campaign to make sure people really understand what they're getting into.
No, I did, I was a part of the Turner School District in
great.
Turner, Maine.
Yeah, good.
So we actually won an award against Coca-Cola,
Oh.
a national award for energy efficiency when we completed the project.
Oh, that's great. Good for you.
It was amazing. I mean, it was a much bigger project. We did the full geothermal
Yeah.
dig and really.
Did that Bear, Coca-Cola Bear, did they come out and do the work?
No, but I did want to follow up with Turner and find out what their long-term, because this was 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'll give them a call and just check in, because the BA and I left right after the project was completed, so I never got to see the fruit of
Sure.
all the process, and so I can't give you definitive data on what the return on investment was, but I remember asking a lot of questions about the guarantee.
Yeah.
Right, that like we did this and your guarantee of the work. So I certainly have had a lot of experience with this.
Good. I like it when we don't get the guarantee. We have to write you a check, because you go tell everybody.
Funny that you wrote us a check, yeah, yeah.
And that's like a really good marketing ploy.
Yes, yes.
Unfortunately, we exceed what we say,
Right.
in most cases. I was just over at Hillsborough Deering and went through their project, and we're beating it by 17%.
Yeah.
But usually we're in 1 to 2% of what the projection is.
Yeah, so it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Deb Roberts or Dean
Deb,
Flanagan?
yeah, Deb and I are very good friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Awesome.
So what other, if I can ask this question, so are there any school districts in the local area that have already executed this level of project and are now seeing returns, frequent returns?
Sure, quite a few. Oyster River's one,
Okay.
Hillsborough Deering. What is the other one that we just did? It starts with an H2 and I'm blanking on it. Oh,
What's the
we just
river?
went there.
They put
No.
in a
Hollis,
geothermal,
Brookline?
didn't they?
Say again?
Hollis, Brookline?
Middle school.
We went there.
Fantastic.
No, SAU 21, I believe. is-
Mhm.
Hampton?
Yeah, we have done work at Hampton as well. Yeah, there's quite, I can certainly send you a list.
Yeah.
I've toured the middle school at Oyster River, and they're actually selling electricity back to the grid.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's so efficient that it was profitable.
Yeah, I knew that was-
But the whole building is brand new, so that's a little
Yeah.
bit unique. Like
Oh,
this
yeah.
wouldn't, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's prime time, right?
Yeah, right. They did everything from the ground up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you both very much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
Yeah,
you
thank
very
you.
much.
Really nice to see
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Have a nice night. If you have any questions, I'll be in touch.
That'd be great.
Yeah, great.
Thank
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come out.
Yes,
Yep, I'll be in
thank
touch.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I will give you a hug. Bye, thank you, luck.
Yeah, thanks. Maybe I'll come and get some lessons.
Yeah, okay.
Great.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
Brian.
yeah.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Good.
I'll be right back.
Thank you.
Next thing you know, Rick's gonna give me a Coke polar bear and get it sent to my office.
I actually, I'll have to look.
Okay.
We have to approve the minutes.
Did we lose
Yeah,
Micah?
well, Micah's
Micah.
grabbing a water.
And then, we have 6 budget adjustments we have to do.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we want to go over how, what we're recommending for financing.
For tech, it's, I think, six big tech items. No, I know people at Hillsborough Deering.
Oh, good, that'd be great.
Yeah, should reach out to them.
Yeah, and I'll reach out to the problem is everyone at Turner left, so I don't know.
I know someone
Who's
who's
there
there in
anymore?
Hillsborough for over a decade.
Yeah.
I can give him a call.
Yeah.
Because they have, I think, older buildings too.
Sure. Yeah, it's always good to get.
Let me see what,
sense.
because they, yeah.
Yep.
He'll tell me the truth, so I'll find out, yeah.
Yeah, and the part of this was just to get, just for the public to understand that we wanted to get a sense of what, we might think that solar would help us, or we might think that
Right.
adjusting boilers would help us. We wanted to get someone to come in and just take a look. So it doesn't mean that we're gonna go with whoever the right bid is and the right process for this. This was just an overview. And it did affirm some of our assumptions that there's some room for some growth. With regard to particularly the solar and the boiler piece, the controls, the boiler controls. Steve Riley, the former facilities director from my first 2 years here, was constantly saying, we need to do the boiler controls, right? Like make them all electric so that they will change. And this was right before the pandemic, so it kind of got lost in the shuffle. But now it's starting to boil up again, pun intended, that we need to kind of deal with the heating and cooling, climate control of the district.
And then what budget line does this come out of?
Well, that's complicated. So that,
That's kind of what they,
It's complicated
yeah.
because there's no budget for it.
well, yeah, so what happens is that what Siemens did in the place that I've worked before is that they guaranteed a return on investment. So the district voted to continue the budget. The budget that paid for it is the budget that you used for your utilities.
Right.
So you take the same money and you spend it on the project, but you get a return on the investment over a period of time that's guaranteed.
And depending
So
on what
it's-
projects you do, it'll cross budget lines.
Exactly.
Was it electrical, was it gas, or what, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh. So it's a big this is a big process if we choose to do it. This is just its infancy of saying, there's some potential. That's all it is. But let's keep going with the agenda. We'll talk more later.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the May 15th minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes. From last meeting.
All right. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor? Unanimous, and it's approved. Matt, do you want to move to the budget adjustments?
Yeah, there was 6 special ed budget adjustments involving transportation, tuition, wide variety of professional services. Don't know if you guys had a chance to look at it or have any questions.
Do you just want to go through, so there's 6 of them? Do you just want to go through, are you on the same, looking at the same slide we are? Or it's the 6 budget adjustments?
Yeah, we go to it.
Because you could just start on number 1 and say, okay, we're just moving this to this, and we'll just go, okay, and then we'll get to the bottom and then approve all 6.
Got it. Okay, yeah.
Doing that.
So first one, let's see. We go through the account codes. So we're, let's see, moving special ed. Let's see. Are we reading the account codes for this? This is the first
No,
one.
just say where we're moving it to and from, so it's special ed salary
Yep, moving it special ed salary to transportation
to transportation.
Yep.
Got it.
for 71,270.
Okay.
First one. Move on to the second one.
Yep.
Again, moving special ed salary to other professional services for psych, 61,485. third one, also transferring from special ed salary for other professional services in the amount of $50,526. We have a wide variety here. Looks like we're moving money to pay for other professional services at Bakey and the middle school out of about 8 different lines. Professional services from the Bakey, hold on a second. Contracted consultants from the summer, other professional services Bakey, other professional services InStep, and health insurance and special ed salary. Total would be $59,583.75. And oops, there we go. Moving money for from PTOT at Bakey and retirement in the amount of $33,736.45 for OTPT, Bakey pre-K, OTPT at middle school, and OTPT at the high school. And the last one is moving money from other professional services and in-state tuition for special ed to other professional services in the amount of $20,000.
Can I get a motion to approve the 6 special education budget transfers as stated?
I make a motion to approve the special education transfers as stated.
Second?
Further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you.
So the next item, we have a limited amount of time, and in terms of the business administrator comments, if you click on that, it begins with a table that covers those 6 large tech items that we're looking to purchase at the end of the year, and some possible funding sources for them. We also revised as of this morning, you'll see it highlighted in yellow, the end of year surplus, okay? So that's as of this morning. And I don't think we have Gordon here. Yeah, Gordon's with us. So again, and the other thing that we did is just, if you want to see, move the purchases around and see, how they affect the budget, there's a spreadsheet that we included where you can, move something from financing to facility revolving use or to the end of year surplus or, so I don't know if you had a chance to do that. But obviously tonight, the board meeting, Gordon's going to be presenting these 6 items and taking questions. But we have actually more time than I thought we were going to have in this committee meeting to discuss these things because they're pretty significant. So
let's go through each of the items and tell them where we're expecting it to come from.
Okay.
And then also tell them what our projected goals are.
I don't see.
There are a few changes to
I don't see
that.
the copiers on there. Is the copier, is that somewhere else?
Well, it's not on there, I'm
Copiers
assuming
were
because it's
from-
budgeted.
yeah, it's budgeted.
Right, the copiers are already budgeted. It was just that we had to go through the RFP process. We have to have copiers.
Is the switch is new?
Yes.
Is that new? Because I don't remember seeing that.
Oh,
It's been talked about for about a month.
Yeah.
A little more than a month and a half.
What do you want to start with, Gordon? Do you care?
so a couple things that I just wanted to point out with that spreadsheet is, the Chromebooks, there was that 1,500 under the facility use isn't a thing. The entire thing is put under the ESSER grant.
The other thing is the initial numbers that were based on pricing a couple weeks ago, and they've changed and they've gone down. So Gordon's got a better pricing sense, so the numbers aren't quite the same as they were when we produced this back when we set this to you.
Yeah, and I just want to give props to Christine DeRocher and Gordon for working because we were able to take the very end of our ESSER money and cover this to take it off the year end. So we worked really hard. How many is it?
What's that?
How many Chromebooks?
150.
Yep.
And what percentage of our overall is that? So as a district, we have how many Chromebooks? And this 150 is?
It's about 100 per grade, starting in third grade. So it's at 9. And then Fremont, adding Fremont, it could be 130-ish in the high school. So it's at 900, and then an additional 120, maybe 150.
So we're about 1,000, let's call it. Okay, so this is 10%.
Right, that's a good way to put it, because what happens is each freshman class needs a new computer because the seniors leave.
Got it.
So we just try to keep moving this ball forward, which part of the transparency with this, and why I bring this to you and the board instead of just authorizing it, which a lot of superintendents would do, because the budget is the superintendent's budget, right? So we have the authority to spend things. We don't do that here. We bring these things to you and the board for 3 reasons. One is that we want the community to totally understand what we're spending the money on. There's no reason to hide anything. It's totally transparent. It's for the kids. Number 2, it builds awareness for the upcoming budget process, which is critical because technology has to be included in our future budget along with capital. And the third thing is that we want people to understand the complex needs of technology with running a school, and the only way to do that is to talk about it publicly, right?
I think one of the other important things about the Chromebooks is, I mean, Gordon tries to roll them over every 6 years. So this,
Yeah, and it's tough to, it's easy on the high school level because they get it as a freshman, they get it for 4 years, and then they can either choose to purchase it for, I think, $50, or they give it back. When it comes to 3rd through 8th, they kind of, they'll follow the kid when they're at Memorial for 3 years, and then they'll get one at the middle school. The problem is getting those cycled, in a proper way. The nice thing is Google has extended how they do the licensing. So the biggest challenge was you buy a Chromebook, and based on when you bought it, you would have anywhere from 5 to 6 years of support with that Chromebook, getting latest software updates, all that. They've recently changed it as of last fall to 10 years. So it allows the existing Chromebooks we have now can get software support for up to 10 years. So it gives us a wider window to kind of, cycle them through.
Great for most of it.
So did you all see this spreadsheet here? It should be linked or in the,
Subcommittee.
because so for instance, like when we put this together, we thought we were going to take some money from facility revolving use. I'm going to delete that now because it's actually now going to be fully covered by the ESSER grant. So,
Okay. Yeah,
and it all adjusts in real time. So you can see if we, for instance, like when we get to the PA system, I'm going to tell you why it's probably not going to be financed now when we get to that. And that'll probably get moved, but you'll see how it affects the other lines.
Can I just go back to the switches real quick? Because I just looked through like all my emails, and maybe I missed it. And if I did, I apologize, but I don't remember ever seeing a number attached to switches.
It was like 162.
When was that, sir? Did you guys see that?
Yeah, so that was.
It's a part of the E-rate.
Did you guys see that?
So it was part of it when we looked at, we were looking at a whole bunch of different pieces of technology. It was one of those slides in there, and it had a couple of different switches.
The total would have been on 160 something. It was a $49,000 rebate.
Last facility.
Right, which I've actually reached out to get some questions and found out that it's actually a little more.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So, yeah.
You probably saw a bigger
I
dollar
don't
amount.
remember seeing the number for switches at all, so it's probably just me, I guess.
okay, well, switches are basically, they look like hubs.
No,
No, he knows what they are.
I know what they
He doesn't
are.
remember seeing them.
I was just trying to.
Those, right there, turn the lights on and off.
Yeah, we got like
162,000 of those.
Yeah, I just don't remember.
I thought it was an emotional thing, like you flip the switch and beast mode, I don't know. All right, so,
The one other thing I wanted to add to with your spreadsheet that you had laptops, the ESSER, it's actually, so it's only a little over 5,000 available left with ESSER. And we chose to do the lab PCs, which we have, original price was $21,822. It's down to $17,500. So we were able to fit in about 6 into the ESSER.
so you're able to get the price down to 17 and change and then take $5,000 off that? Or is that?
Yeah,
So it's 12,000 something for the lab PCs.
Yeah.
I'm using general.
Where are that pieces?
So they're just desktops for, the business lab.
We have a business
So
lab that
there's-
has PCs.
There's 3 labs.
Science, if it was business.
Yeah, there's 3 labs in the building, art, business, and modern media. With the art teacher who runs the lab retiring, we have no idea if that lab's gonna continue. With Brian Gray leaving, he's been apparently all this year using just Chromebooks for everything in the lab, hasn't even been using the lab computers. So this is the only lab that is actually being used for next year, as far as I know, unless somebody decides to take over the art lab.
It all depends on who we hire.
Gordon, I went up to the spreadsheet, it's 17,000, what, coming out of general fund?
17,500 is total,
500
minus,
even? Okay.
minus 6 machines at $875 apiece. So
Those are
875
going to ESSER
times 6. So 5,250 is coming out
of ESSER.
of ESSER.
So gentlemen, for the sake of time, so we have 15 minutes left. Are you, right now, for this meeting, what we're going over, is this, what are you looking for from us in this meeting? That way we can best utilize this 15 minutes.
We're looking for you to support purchasing these things one way or the other, either through, so we have combed through everything that we can to get money out of ESSER, lower prices. It's the end of the year and we need these things to run the school.
Okay,
So
so,
to do that,
These are critical things.
so to do that effectively,
Yep.
we're jumping around a bit.
I agree.
Can you start on, pick a slideshow that you want us to, or pick a, because there's 2 different graphs. There's one that's an Excel doc, and the other one is a graph under the business administrators.
I think they're moving to this one.
So pick one of those and then
Okay,
work
sorry.
our way down so that
Yep.
we're not.
Yep.
okay, what would you prefer?
I think
Jeremiah?
you just updated the live graph.
Yeah.
Do the live one.
Yep.
Yep, so we're on the Excel doc.
Okay, on the Excel doc, you on the Excel doc?
Yep.
Micah?
I gotta find out how to get to that.
And it's linked in the agenda next to the business
Do you guys
administrators.
mind if I help a little bit with this? Because I've been really involved and I'd like to just get us right through this.
Yeah,
All right, so let me help you. Let me handle this.
I
Okay,
have switched.
okay, here we go. So I'll give you the, this is what I'm looking for. You have to look at it 2 ways. It's 2-dimensional. The whole purchase and individual items. We're asked, this is what we're recommending for where you put the purchases. Okay? The lease financing, let's go to the PA system. The PA system, the lease financing did not lead to savings. Matt Malilla is not recommending it. So we're asking you, where would you like to
Because
put
we tried
that?
to bundle it with the Ventrac to decrease the, and it didn't change the.
It
lease
didn't
rate.
change the
It's still
rate.
5.7%.
Didn't help us.
Okay.
So if we don't do lease financing, that would have to come out of year end.
Okay.
It can't go into ESSER, so let's move it
Where's
to,
it go?
it's gonna go to year, he's gonna put it over there now.
There's no other funds we can pull money from?
Facility revolving use.
You could lease it. You still could lease it. Or you
No,
could
I'm
come
saying
up-
there's no other funds that
I
we
do
have.
have that
Well,
E-rate
that is,
fund.
that's the whole district's funds. That's our amount of money that's left at the end of the year, like that's the,
No.
you mean like, do we have like
We have a facility use revolving fund.
yes.
Is there any other fund that we can pull money from?
For this purpose, I don't think so. What are you thinking of?
I'm asking,
No,
I'm asking
no,
the business
no, no.
commissioner.
No, I just didn't know if you were thinking of
I
this. We
would,
do
I
have
would
a-
say either facility use revolving fund or the general fund, one of the two.
And that's the balance at the top there, the facility use
Yes.
fund, 129,
Yes.
176.
Oh, if the camera service come out of it, it's a 111.
I got you. Yep.
Yep.
So the current balance right now.
So if we move that over, to facility revolving use fund, it's down to 30.
I don't want to do that. I don't want it to go below 100, guys. I mean, you can, but I know it gets replenished, but the budget is tight next year.
We
because
already hit it last meeting or something, right?
Yes, yes.
With, something.
Yes.
So move it, okay, so can you move this over to the general fund surplus?
And then move the 17.5 over the facility use revolving fund.
Yep, I agree with that, Rick. That's a great idea.
Which that's only really 12,
It's really only 12.
250.
For the lab PCs?
Yeah, put that in there, 12,250,
250,
because we financed,
Because the 50.
Just because of 5,200 in that circle.
thank you.
Got
Yep, yep. There. So if you're asking me as the superintendent of schools, I'm asking you to approve that.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna go through super quick here.
Yep.
So PA system, which buildings is this?
High school, middle school.
High school, middle school,
Mhm.
for roughly,
That's not-
or sorry,
Hold on.
74,650.
Yep.
Coming out of general fund. We have switches. How many switches and where are those, Gordon?
It's the whole district and
So new switches for the whole district?
correct.
So that means all schools.
30 and then looks like 30.
While he's looking that up, the current ones are used.
Yep.
We bought them used.
Yep, and you rebuilt them?
Like 9.
Yep.
No, those were
9 years
the
ago.
servers that I rebuilt.
Okay,
The switches were bought, refurbished,
refurbished.
like
Yep,
5 or 6 years right before I got here.
okay.
So I have no idea how old they were when we
That's
bought
okay.
them.
Can you answer the question of how many and where?
Yeah, 33 total.
Yep.
And it's across the district.
Okay,
So there's
and the
like,
lifespan on these new ones is 10 years, 20 years?
it's how they do everything now is so different. It's basically when they decide to stop supporting it.
Yep.
You know, so like, for example, our wireless, we had 2 years ago, and that's gonna be end of life in 2028. So it'll still work, but you can't get any new features, anything.
And Gordon, I'm not trying to cut you off, but in the sake of time, what would you, so what's our rough, what do we look
I
at?
would say at least a 6-7 year period.
Okay.
They're fairly new model.
Okay. All right, got it. Chromebooks, 150, we already discussed that.
Yep,
And that is coming out of ESSER?
yes,
I thought we just said that.
yes, it's over there.
It is, okay.
It's on the right-hand column.
I see it.
50 fits that.
Just get rid of it. And the camera servers are coming where? Those are for,
Those are from the facilities use revolving fund.
right, where are the
And that's
cameras?
Bakey and Memorial. So those are
Bakey
the
and Memorial.
servers that were rebuilt.
Got it, okay. The laptops, those are teacher
Yes.
Yep,
laptops, and how many?
Yep.
50?
50, okay. And then lab PCs, we just discussed, those are actually going in the lab, yep, to do
20.
standard work, and there's 20 of those,
Mhm.
okay? And that leaves us with just under 100,000 in the facilities revolving fund as they going into next year.
makes me squirm, but I'm okay.
There's one point though, the PA system based on, and Gordon can elaborate on it, we did not get bids on it. So we have to waive policy DJE. Because what we currently, and we're willing to do it, but just what, I'm just being transparent with you. Like, when Gordon presents it tonight, that's gonna come up.
Yep.
Because the vendor we have in the high school
I
has
remember
been bad. And the vendor that you are recommending is the Bakey and Memorial. But if you want bids, we can still do it, we can delay it, it'll just mean that this may not be in the budget for this summer, we may have to, push it off to next year.
And the biggest concern with it is every speaker needs to be changed. So
Right.
every classroom that needs to be pulled down, there's a little speaker on top. It needs to be replaced, put in. So it's impossible to do during the
Right.
I just don't want you guys to be
school year other than
surprised in the
vacation.
middle of the board meeting that we're saying,
Yeah.
we're waiving this,
Yeah.
we're not,
And I
we want you to
remember
be
this.
Yeah.
And this is a safety notification to students, staff, for
Yes.
all issues. Yeah.
We don't ask for the waiver lightly.
Like
We are
ours.
asking because if we don't do a waiver and move forward with the company that we've worked with extensively and trust,
Yep.
the system won't get updated until Christmas, which is fine.
Yep.
But we want you to know, we want to be transparent. There's a safety concern.
Also on a scale of 1 to 10, for example, how badly do we want to replace these now?
I would not bring it to you and ask you to waive a policy if it wasn't immediate.
So
I can't say, I cannot in any situation say to people that I'm comfortable running a school where people can't get real-time communication over an
So
announcement
there's,
system.
so there's demonstrably something wrong with them. right?
Yes, they're
We have-
failing in,
yes.
like, there are
Right-
hallways that we
right
can't
now
hear.
we have, I don't know if
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
this
great
hallway or the upstairs one.
Or no,
It's
it's like,
out.
right, I didn't know if it was like these are really past the end of life and we really should, or if they're
Thank you.
absolutely.
It is a real problem.
Our
Yeah.
vendor.
Already
We
fixed.
haven't asked for bids on this yet, because we've been talking about.
We didn't ask for bids because we want this company that has been servicing the other two schools and it's going very, very well. That's why we're asking you not to, we don't want to take this to
Did
bid.
we take bids when we got that company?
Oh, I don't remember. It was a long time.
No, it was like 4 years ago or something, because facilities used to take care of the PA. And
Yeah.
then I think Steve Riley left, I took it over. I couldn't find anybody to service them. And I found this vendor who used to service it way back, and he actually put in a bid for this building originally when it was built. And so he's the dealer for Bogan, which is at Memorial and Baking, which we want here. And he's pretty reliable, shows up, you know, and he fixed our big issue here, and he's not even, can't even get the parts to do it.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
if-
if I can parlay here, so this is the conversation that we had last month, was that we had issues at this building. This vendor, who is a contractor who is working the other buildings, actually came over here and actually did some work on a system that's not theirs in good faith.
Oh.
But said, hey, if you want us to continue doing this work, like, it's gotta be our stuff, right?
Exactly.
So already in good faith, already reputable, and we're in the spot where it's.
We
summer.
don't ask often.
We-
We
we're
really
in a
think
spot.
this is the right move, but if it's the will of the board to go to bid, we will.
Yep.
Right, Rick? I want you to know, like, if everyone says do it, I'm good,
And just to
right?
give
I'm
you-
not, I just want you to know that, like, we feel that this is the right decision, is to go with this company, but we don't, transparency is important.
And just to give you an idea about the equipment that we're recommending to install, one of the cars blew at Memorial, and that car had a 1972 date on it.
For real.
That car had been running for over 40 years.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we've reached the end of this Excel doc. Do you need anything else?
No, we just wanted,
Okay.
we wanted to hear these concerns, like Rick brought up, that he's not in support of not moving forward unless there are bids. I'm okay with that,
Well,
right?
It's not 11 grand. I mean,
Yeah.
It's not just over threshold.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of money. It is, and it's tricky because it did go from like concern to worse pretty quickly over the last 6 to 8 weeks.
Sure.
But I want to be clear and fair about it. We did not choose to bring in another company because we already have a company that we work with and we want to continue that relationship. If the will of the board is that that's not okay, we're good with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we'll
As
get,
long
I
as,
think in full transparency though, you can get other quotes and use that as leverage to work with that vendor as well.
You can,
That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
That's the missing piece here.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
So I don't think we're doing, I appreciate the transparency, but I don't think we're doing everybody a justice by just saying, oh, that's the case.
yeah,
we can do that.
You can negotiate.
Yeah.
So all leverage is negotiable.
and you're really good at that, and we appreciate
I
that.
assume you guys are as well.
Yeah, we want to be clear. We're 6 weeks away from summer. They can do the work. We're recommending having them do the work. We agree with you in principle for the vast majority of what we do. This instance, we just felt like this was the time to move forward.
Matt, can you very briefly, sorry, did you have something else, Mike?
I think I can ask it, but then we're gonna go over this.
We
in
have
the
2
next
minutes
meeting.
left.
I can push this question to the board. Maybe.
Sure.
Yeah, it'd be
Okay.
good for everybody here.
Yeah, okay, great.
Matt, do you want to briefly go over any of the balances, trust fund balances?
No, I think, we reviewed them, and I don't think there's anything there's nothing significantly changed to my knowledge. We updated the end of year surplus, that was a big thing. We're still looking at, I think the last meeting we were saying was around 1 million, and it's looking like it's gonna be at 1.3 for the end of year surplus.
Yep.
Depending upon what we do, with the PA system, and what's approved tonight. So we're still looking good with what's getting returned to the voters.
Okay. Okay, and then SCA paving update.
Let's see, paving update.
They started June 17th. Nice.
Yeah.
And one quick question.
So,
When we redid the track, there was I remember a report that said we failed to do the maintenance on the track. And that's why it was so in such deplorable condition.
Mhm.
And it was recommended maintenance. Does anybody have a copy of that report?
I'm sure we do somewhere. We can get that.
Because I'm
for you,
just curious, I want to make sure that we're doing that preventive maintenance, so we don't get into the same.
Agree completely. It is way less expensive to do that
I thought it was like
proactively.
3 years out, something like that. And again, I'm
Pull that
going
up.
off memory, but like.
So it was a track maintenance report, is that what it is?
It was-
Whoever redid our resurfacing
Yeah.
said it failed because we failed to do this over the course of time. And I want to make sure that we're not,
Yeah.
10 years down the road or however old this building is. and we spend
I'm really
a lot
glad
of
you brought that up. I hadn't thought of it. Thank you. That's really helpful because it can go downhill
Oh, yeah.
quickly.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
How long is that track?
I think it's the third year, but don't quote me. It's,
Yeah.
I
COVID
remember
at
kind
the
of
same
caused,
time as the Wi-Fi, because wasn't that on the list?
I can't
The big-
remember. I've got to look
big
at the
one?
dates on
I
the,
think
it's been a
I think
while.
it's 2 this summer.
I thought there was something at year 3.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Well, I'll bring it to the August meeting.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
All right, open up for public comments.
I think no.
Okay.
No, we need to get some quotes for ramps. I'm hoping that we can like appoint Rick to be the person.
At Memorial?
Yeah.
Yeah, that, thanks, Matt. We could have asked the board too, but would one of you be willing to be the point person for what's going on at Memorial with these ramps and the issues with the portables? Because we need to get some work done over there, particularly on the back of the building right away. And we just need someone, one of you, I was hoping you would do it, but we just need someone to be, you know, any of you, it doesn't matter to me, but Rick's been kind of involved already, so I was trying to save
So
time.
in order to get people there, what's required? Can I just go there?
Yeah.
Or do I have to, you know, can I just bring a vendor on site, or do I have to?
I think you should have Matt go with you.
Yeah, I'll come over.
Matt,
Yeah.
Matt and Lil will go with you, but you guys can do that. Yeah, and Dan, have Dan go with you, because Dan's involved, you know?
So you wanna call my vendors off at this point then?
No, we wanna make sure that we have three bids and we move forward.
We already got
We
one
wanna
bid.
try to,
I've got one bid now,
Okay.
and another one this week.
Yeah, one of
Okay.
the
Right.
people that I
That's
took
just
out.
for work.
No, I think, but Tom's talking about authorization to do.
I'm talking about authorization to move
We need a
forward
board
once we get
member
the
to authorize
bids.
the work.
We need a
Yeah.
board member to be the point person.
Because it's summer.
Do you have people to do wood, right? So you're
I'm getting
say?
people to do wood, but I'm finding out it's the same price as aluminum.
Well, because of tying into the rod that's there?
No, because it's just labor. Aluminum, you snap it up in a day.
And, there's.
Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. Let's,
To do it right,
we don't have
because of the
time to,
rod, they're probably gonna have to put foot in a new budget.
yeah, guys, this is all I'm asking for. Can you guys appoint him to give us a hand and we'll talk to the board tonight.
That person. Okay,
Okay, so we'll get it done.
You get rid of the ledger completely.
so we're appointing Rick to be the point of
All right,
contact.
and we'll have the board affirm that you have the authorization to accept the bids and talk about the bids.
Yeah.
So that we can just get this done, because I want to encumber the money out of this year. I don't want to wait. Okay, it's not a huge sum, but we need to do it.
Thank you.
Right, and we will adjourn